Praised art thou, God as noun and verb, creator of man. May she who is barren, i.e., the setter of the good example, the exceptional, be exceedingly glad and exult when her children are gathered within her joy. Praised art thou, God as noun and verb, who makes the exceptional example, the landmark, glad because of her children, cause the loved companions to rejoice, even as thou didst in the days of old gladden thy creatures in the Garden of Eden. Praised art thou, God as a noun and verb, who causes the bridegroom and the bride to rejoice. Praised art thou, God as noun and verb, our God, King of the universe, who created joy and gladness, bridegroom and bride, mirth and exultation, pleasure and delight, love and brotherhood, peace and fellowship. May there be heard soon in the cities of Yehuda and in the streets of Jerusalem the voice of joy and gladness, and the voice of the bridegroom and the voice of the bride, the jubilant voice of the bridegrooms from their canopies, and of youths from their feast of song. Praised art thou, God as a noun and verb, who causes the bridegroom to rejoice with the bride. And Tziyun, instead of just saying Zion, I am translating it to kind of separate it for a second from the whole blood and soil connotations that have such accrued since this book was written. And one of the customs that is particularly common in Africa is the sitting on the porch with the bride to announce the difference between fornication, leaving early in the morning and hiding, actually just hanging out and whatnot. And in some cultures, that's basically how you set up the marriage, is that you make sure people see you. The young couple then drink from the second goblet. A glass is broken by the bridegroom, and the threefold priestly blessing is intoned as a fitting conclusion of the ceremony. The details of the ceremony have their symbolical significance. The chuppah represents the home of the couple, which is to be permeated by religious spirit. The two goblets of wine represent the cups of joy and sorrow, and the bridegrooms and brides drinking from both is expressive of their willingness to share the joys and sorrow of life. The ring, which no doubt originated in medieval times, is a substitute for the coin by means of which the marriages were originally consummated, the paying of the dowry. It must be made of pure gold and devoid of any gems. Its purity is symbolic of conjugal fidelity, and gems are omitted, as their exact value cannot be estimated. The breaking of glass is for good luck. It is supposed to forestall all misfortune due to excessive rejoicing. The custom is no doubt based on a legend which tells that when Rabbeina's son was married, Rabbeina noticed that the guests were too hilarious. In order to check their glee, he broke before them a white porcelain vase worth 200 zuzim, equal to $100 in our currency. Tosafot, Barakoth 31a. That's that story. The ketubah, our contract, in which protected women against penury in the days when a woman could be divorced against their will, a condition changed by Rabbeinu Gershom, a teacher of the 11th century, reads, on the day of the week, the day of the month, name of the month, in the year, AM, they list the number of the year. According to the Jewish reckoning, here in the city of Mr. son of said to be the virgin daughter of, be thou my wife in accordance with the laws of Moses and Israel, and I will work for thee, honor and support and maintain thee, in accordance with the custom of Jewish husbands who work for their wives, honor, support, and maintain them. I will furthermore set aside 200 denarii to be thy dowry according to the law, and besides provide thy food, clothing, and necessaries, and live with thee in conjugal relations according to universal custom. Miss, on her part, consented to become his wife. The marriage portion which she brought from her father's house in silver, gold, valuables, clothes, etc., amounts to Mr. The bridegroom consented to increase this amount from his property with a sum of making in all. He furthermore declared, I take upon myself and my heirs the responsibility for the amount due according to this contract, and of the marriage portion, and of the additional sum by which I promise to increase it, so that which I promise to increase is parentheses, so it's implied, I guess. So that all this shall be paid from the best part of my property, real and personal, such as I now possess or may hereafter acquire. All my property, even the mantle on my shoulders, shall be mortgaged for the security of the claims of stated until paid now and forever. Thus, Mr. The bridegroom has taken upon himself the fullest responsibility for all obligations of this ketubah as customary in regard to the daughters of Israel, in accordance with the strict ordinances of our sages of blessed memory, so that this document is not to be regarded as an illusory obligation or as a mere form of documents. And we see an example of a marriage contract right there. In order to render the above declarations and assurances of the said bridegroom to be said the bride perfectly valid and binding, we have applied the legal formality of symbolical deliverance. To this document are usually attached the signatures of the bridegroom and 2 witnesses, and sometimes also the signature of the officiating clergyman. And in Islamic law, there's also the 2 witnesses and some, not clergymen necessarily, but somebody testifying on behalf of the woman that they've been talked to away from the man, and the man has thus, and it's in her interest, and she has consent, not just in front of the crowd, but away from the crowd, she consents as well. So that's similarity, I guess. This ceremony is often preceded by reading of the regular afternoon service, mincha, and itself is never performed among more conservative Jews without the presence of the usual devotional quorum of 10 men. It is conducted either at the home of the bride or at the synagogue. After the ceremony, a family feast is held, followed by a special prayer of grace. These are the main characteristics of the Jewish marriage. I've been to marriages where they hand, literally like somebody brings a couple, one of those 2-quart things of juice and a pack of crackers and distributes it among the witnesses. These are main characteristics of the Jewish marriage. In many communities, the marriage ceremony has undergone marked changes and has had new and modern features introduced. Where such and such is the case, these features may be traced to similar customs in vogue among local non-Jews.